I'm so excited to talk about IEPs with you today. There is a lot happening in special education. In fact, I was just texting yesterday with an owner of a therapeutic day school. She was telling me all the things that are happening with the staff shortages, what's happening with the state regulations on virtual learning and how many days they're allowed to have as virtual learning days as a school before they get penalized. Just so many things that are happening. And you know what? I could hear it in her text. Like I could feel it and I can see it in my inbox and I can hear it when I'm on Zoom calls with master IEP coaches that, decision fatigue is real in special education right now. This is usually something that we see a little bit further into the school year. But there's been massive decision making for the last couple of years, right? Like, let's just put it out there. It's literally been a couple of years now. Basically, we've been making big decisions. And those are personal decisions that we're making. They're educational decisions. There's things that we're doing for work. There's things that we're doing for family and life. And it can become overwhelming. So one of the things that I love to work on inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship, and for those of you that are not already Master IEP coaches, I'm going to highly recommend that you follow the links that are right here. Wherever you're watching the video, it's either above or below. You can see the link to become a Master IEP coach and learn more. I'm going to encourage you to do that because making decisions alone without being able to check yourself, right? And see, like, are you missing any pieces that you need to make a good decision? That trying to make all these decisions alone can be overwhelming. So the first thing is, when you become a master IEP coach, you don't have to make decisions alone anymore. You have an entire community that's behind you that you can work with to make decisions on the educational side of things. So whether you're a parent, teacher, admin, therapist, you're, working through different struggles right now, and to have that support is really important. But I'm going to give you some strategies that I give master IEP coaches because I want you to have them right now. I want you to know what we're talking about and inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. And one of the things when it comes to decision making is to remember that not all decisions need to be made in one IEP meeting. Right? We put all this pressure on ourselves to make sure that an IEP meeting is as perfect as it can be. But what if instead of perfect, it was prioritized? How about that? Can we make an IEP meeting prioritized? Like, here's the top 3 things we need to get done in this meeting, because it's going to create a domino effect then. If we get these 3 things done, then, we're going to lead into other wins, other successes for the child. So, for example, if behaviors are a struggle, like staying on task is just not happening, that can be a priority at the IEP meeting. And once we tackle that, right, we find the solution, we figure out what we can do for staying on task, things like making progress in reading is going to be easier. We're going to be able to find that solution faster because we've gone to the first thing, which is like, let's see how are we going to get this kiddo engaged in their learning with that. So let's really talk about how are you going to prioritize an IEP meeting, like what happens in there versus worrying about making it perfect. So prioritizing over perfection. Who's in for that? Who's ready to give up on the whole, let's make sure this IEP meeting has everything we need. Let's make sure that it's exactly perfect. And then we're completely deflated when we don't cover all the points and it didn't go perfect. And I'm going to say somebody got emotional. Everybody thinks it's just the mom that gets emotional at the IEP meetings. It's not. For those of you that are new here, it is everybody gets emotional. My background is that I was a classroom teacher a little over 20 years ago in special education. I'm a special needs sibling, but for the last 20 years, I've been working for you, parents, teachers, admins, therapists, to build IEPs that work in the real world. I can see Aquarius is here. She's asking, can I get some ideas on reading, please? That is a broad question, Aquarius. So if you're looking for how to write IEP goals that work in the real world, when it comes to reading, how to get that framework to figure out what should your child be working on, I'm going to encourage you to follow the link. Again, it's above or below wherever you're watching this, because we have an entire module inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship that talks about how to write IEP goals that work in the real world. Who's ever seen an IEP document in one of the books, right? They're like the IEP Bibles. That it's like, here's what a perfect IEP work looks like. Even if we get that IEP that looks perfect on paper, it doesn't always look that way in the classroom. And we have to figure out, when we're talking about something specific like reading, what do we need to do to break down that goal to really make it individualized and to meet your child's unique needs. And yes, we want it to be a SMART goal. So we want it to be specific and measurable and actionable and all those things, right? We want it to be a SMART goal, but we also want it to be an individualized goal that makes sense for the real world. I could write a really SMART goal, right? Like a legally appropriate goal for a skill that is not needed. And that goes back to, today we're talking about decision fatigue. Deciding which IEP goals need to take priority, that can be tough, right? But what if you had a community behind you and proven methods that have been used for the last 20 years on how to pick IEP goals that make sense? What if you had that? That would make your decisions easier, right? So that's inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. I'm going to give you one last thing that I want to make sure that you are doing when you're making decisions for special education. All right. I want you to remember that no decision is permanent. All right. I've been doing this long enough that I've seen some of the most heaviest, biggest decisions made. Like, we're talking moving a child, not just to a different school, but sending a child to a residential therapeutic day place, or therapeutic living placement, like out of state. That doesn't have to be permanent. It might be the best decision for now. Right now, you need to make the best decisions you can with the information that you have. But it's hard sometimes to navigate through that when we're so tired with this decision fatigue. So let's see, we have Gail, who is a Master IEP coach. She says she has a client who's a third grader who's struggling with reading and comprehension right now. Besides for adding more speech, already at 3 times a week, what other accommodations can we suggest in his IEP? Here's the thing, more versus better. Let's talk about that just for a second. So reading and comprehension, let's make sure that we have some really great updated present levels of performance. So right now, I'd be saying, okay, if they're struggling, maybe we're not really tuned in to where they're at. And when it comes to speech therapy already being at 3 times a week, how about we look at, is that 3 times a week being used effectively? Is there anything that we can do better instead of more? Right? So a lot of times we're like, child's not making progress, we need more. But what if we could do better in those 3 times a week sessions? How are those sessions taking place? Are they all taking place the same way? Are some large group, small group, push in, pull out, using curriculum, using alternative curriculum? I mean, like, there's all different things that we could say, like, what could we tweak in the current services to perhaps provide a better model for the student that provides the supports they need, or the environment that they need, or the curriculum that they need to make progress, versus just piling on more and more and more therapies, more things. Let's do it better. Let's consider that. So Gail, you're going to have to go grab some data and figure out and get some information of what's going on there. Again, if you'd like to be a Master IEP coach like Gail, Gail is a special needs mom. And she is helping other families navigate through the special education system. Follow that link above or below. I have to say that because we're on Facebook and on YouTube, and they put it in different places for that. So follow that link, find out more about how to become a Master IEP coach so you don't have to go through the decision-making process by yourself, and you can help others through this process also. Let's see, we have Aquarius is jumping back in here. She's saying, thanks for the advice because I'm struggling with this right now. I have 2 of them. One is autistic and it's hard. He's mastered his goals fast. What therapy can help? So again, I don't know enough about your situation to make a specific recommendation about that. Making the decision of where to go next, that's something that having the Master IEP Coach mentorship behind you and helping make that decision can be very helpful. So Aquarius, I hope that you become a Master IEP coach. When you're looking at he's mastering his goals fast, again, I'm going to be saying, okay, where's his present levels of performance then? So is he actually performing at a different level than what everybody thought? So are we starting at the wrong place? So if a child is reading, let's just say there's a reading curriculum that goes from level 1 to level 10, and level 1's the easiest and level 10 is the hardest, and they assumed that your child was at a level 3. And so he is, going through, they assumed at level 3, and all of a sudden he's like just flying through these goals at level 3. Well, maybe your child's actually at a level 5. And now we're going to waste this time in level 3 and 4 because we're already at a level 5, but they're making him work through level 3 and 4 to get to 5, even though that's where he's already at. That happens sometimes. But if we get updated data, we absolutely can figure out, okay, how do we recalibrate? Where do we need to start from? What needs to happen? So again, I'd love to support you through the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. You can find that in the link there. And just know that you're not alone. And if you're feeling like things are heavy and it's hard, again, you're not alone. So there's just a lot that's happening. And knowing that you don't have to make a perfect IEP meeting, but you need to prioritize it. Knowing that you don't have to make all these decisions alone and that no decision is permanent, but yet having the resources to make fantastic decisions with the information that you have and knowing what information to gather, all of that is very important. So Aquarius says, I needed to hear this. I'm glad that you're here, Aquarius. I'm glad that you stopped on by here, stopped that scroll and hung out here for a little bit. Again, I hope to see all of you guys inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. I'll talk to you soon.